I'm Nathan Judah. I'm here with Wolves reporter is Mr. Liam Keane. Liam, we've seen our first pre-season game of 2024-2025 at the Marbella Football Centre. It finished Wolves 1, Como 0, so that's the good news. But the bad news is we're going to be talking about an incident in the second half that's kind of marred what has been an excellent last 6 or 7 days at Wolves training camp. I'll allow you to explain.
Yes, obviously this video will have come out after this news has been announced, and I would encourage everyone to read the story that's currently on our website because it does include quotes from Gary O'Neill and fully explaining the situation in written form. But sadly, in 2024 we're still talking about racism and a really sad incident where Hwang Hee-chan has accused a Como player of a racist remark. Wolves, of course, are backing up Hwang Hee-chan and believe it to be absolutely the truth. We have to say alleged at this stage because we're obviously unaware of the Como player's attitude towards it, and of course we didn't hear it ourselves. But that is the allegation, and it's desperately sad, as I say, to you know, in the 21st century, 2024, to be still talking about situations where footballers are being racially abused for simply playing football. It's a training game in the Marbella Football Centre here in Spain. There is absolutely no need for something like that, and yeah, terribly disappointing. And then off the back of that happening, Wolves are, you know, the players are furious. Tom King and
there's a big melee, isn't there?
Yeah, a little bit of a melee.
Centre circle.
Tom King and Daniel Podence are. Tom King and Tommy Doyle are furious, as well as other players on the team. And
very vocal.
And very vocal at the time. Daniel Podence then strikes out, lashes out at the defender, throws a punch at the defender, gets a straight red card for doing that, for essentially sticking up for Hwang Hee-chan, albeit Gary O'Neill did admit, I think, in the right way that there is a line, and you know, Podence did cross that as well. And it was all a bit of a mess, really. The game could have been abandoned. It was close to being abandoned. They
gave Hwang the choice, didn't they?
Gary O'Neill went and spoke to Hwang. There were coaches and players on the pitch and all having a conversation. Gary spoke to Hwang separately, said, "Do you want the game to be abandoned?" He said no. He said, "Do you want to come off?" He said no. He played the rest of the game. Wolves played with 10 men and won 1-0.
Look, this isn't the first time Daniel Podence has been sent off. It's not the first time in a pre-season friendly that Daniel Podence is sent off, and I think a lot of people, including Gary O'Neill, had been very impressed, us as well, about the work that he put on this week, and maybe a surprise that he's here at this training camp. To get sent off, that will be the narrative, as well as, of course, you know, the situation surrounded Hwang. But look, he's protecting, he's sticking up for his teammate, and there's a lot of people very frustrated at that happening, and I think a lot of the times Daniel Podence is maybe a bit of a hothead, and look, it showed there, and he's obviously crossed the line, he's apologised. But I'm not going to dig him too much for today, because, you know, if you're going to, I can't say what I would do if I stick up with my teammate and he's been allegedly racially abused. This is a very tight-knit pack, whether you've got people who've been here 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons or newbies. This is a together group, and you know, that showed today, and unfortunately Daniel Podence is the one who's had to walk off the pitch, and Wolves have in fact been punished because they're the ones down to 10 men for the game. The alleged person who delivered the racist assault or attack stayed on the pitch, and it was 11 versus 10, and actually Wolves played remarkably well to see that game out and win 1-0.
Yeah, they did.
It's just a shame that Wolves were the ones on the end.
Well, exactly, and Tommy Doyle was making that point on the pitch. We could hear him very clearly from the stands where we sat. He was speaking to Gary, speaking to the staff, speaking to the officials to say, you know, we've had a player of ours racially abused, and we're the ones that are being punished, having a player sent off. I can't condone what Daniel Podence did. At the same time, I'm not going to stand here and condemn what Daniel Podence did. I think we'd all react probably in a similar way for good or for bad, and I understand why he did it. The biggest issue, and the thing that we should all be concerned about, and we both absolutely are, and so are Wolves, is Hwang Hee-chan, who, by the way, has had this several times now, not only in a Wolves shirt but in his career, being racially abused. It's outrageous, ridiculous.
Yeah, look, we'll see. I'm sure there'll be more developments to come in the forthcoming few days, and the statement's out, and I thought Gary O'Neill spoke very well about the incident.
He did. He spoke to Wolves TV. He then spoke to me privately on the record about it. As I say, there are quotes on the website now. There will be more to come as well, speaking from Gary. Obviously quite late here, and it's quite dramatic, and you know, we weren't expecting something like this to happen. So there will be a bit more reflection on this in the next day or so. But yeah, he spoke remarkably well because it's very easy for them to try and shut us out because they don't want people to know about it, and that's not necessarily a Wolves point of view but more a Como point of view, but Wolves were very good on this issue. Hwang Hee-chan wanted it out there, he wanted people to know. We haven't obviously reported it at full time because we were in discussions about when to put it out, with us being the only journalists here, which I think is the responsible way to do it, because we wanted to speak to Hwang first through the club to say, how should we do this, what's the best way of doing this. We followed Hwang's wishes, and credit to Gary O'Neill for coming out and speaking, I think, very calmly and very fairly and balanced on the situation, to say obviously it's ridiculous. We have to say alleged for the time being because we are unaware of, and the player has, I'm sure, got an excuse or a reason for it, whatever that might be. But yeah, disappointing to. I'm getting wet.
Getting a little bit wet.
That was great timing.
It's okay.
Just a little bit. But Wolves dealt with it really well. Credit to them and credit to Gary O'Neill. Came out and spoke really well, and also didn't condone what Podence did.
Yeah, it's a shame as well because Hwang Hee-chan, obviously he's been there's a lot of news about him this week.
Yeah.
£21 million bid coming from Marseille. He's a brilliant player off the pitch. He's a better person. Sorry, he's a brilliant player on the pitch. He's a better person off it. Magnificent. Such a lovely individual. It's such a shame that this keeps on happening. It's a disgrace, especially in this modern day environment, as you said, Liam. And also, Wolves could have gone off the pitch. They spoke to Hwang. Hwang wanted to continue the game, not just for himself, but also for the rest of the team as well, who had worked so hard getting towards this this final game before they head back to England, which is an important test.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Gary said, look, there's also, you've got to try and speak to Hwang and make sure he doesn't do anything silly. He could go out there and throw an elbow in this defender's face, something like that. And so impressed with the composure that Hwang Hee-chan showed. He did not let it faze him whatsoever. And inside, I'm sure it definitely did. It's obviously bothered him, and it should do, because it's ridiculous. But he went out there and didn't show that at all. Carried on playing this game, and as you said a second ago, Wolves put on a really good performance actually overall, but particularly with 10 men. Tom King made a couple of good saves, but overall seeing the game out for what really was a secondary importance at that point. Of course.
Let's go into the game now. We had to obviously discuss the situation first, but let's go back to the game. 2 45-minute halves in essence. What do you think the first half? 0-0 at the end of them, but we saw 3 of the new signings play. Jorgen Larsson, we saw Pedro Lima, we saw Rodrigo Gomez, and I thought all 3 of them had real good moments on the pitch.
Yeah, I'd like to pick out Pedro Lima first of all, because we've I in particular have slowly changed my sort of thought process with him. I've started off by saying, look, he's only just turned 18, he's going to need a little bit of time, maybe need to bulk up a little bit. Then we saw a couple of training sessions and we both thought,
I don't know, I think the sun was up a little bit higher before.
There's a player here. And I've watched him there. Now, it's a training game, it's not the Premier League, and it is against a side that has just been promoted from the Italian second division. However, he was very good, very effective going forward, and I tell you what, strong in the tackle. He didn't get bullied by players that are far older and far more experienced than him. So an exciting one, really, really exciting. Rodrigo Gomez out on the left flank, quick, direct, tricky, lovely deliveries. One absolutely magnificent set piece delivery that was right on top of the goalkeeper that he did quite well to deal with. Larsson scored but had it ruled offside. A really, really good showing. Yeah, and
Jorgen Larsson, look, Wolves have got number 9. They've got a strong number 9. I thought he showed some really good touches. Look, he's going to take time to get his sharpness back. There was a moment where maybe he could have taken a shot half a second quicker. It was blocked, and then he had the ball in the back of the net, didn't he, as well, like you say. So good finish. It was ruled offside, but you could see those predatory instincts are there, and someone who could be the integral part to this first team going forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You look at the way Wolves played with him in the team, and it gives you that focal point. It really does. Wolves are trying to play out from the back. They are doing it in training. They're doing it again here as well. And then when they've got the opportunity, or maybe sometimes the necessity to lump it forward, they've got the chance for Jorgen Strand Larsen. I might be hit by water again here. It's okay. I think I'm okay this time. For Jorgen Strand Larsen to hold the ball up. I mean, he's a big lad, strong. Wolves didn't have someone like that, an outlet like that could do that last season, and they were struggling. They've now got the options.
Yeah, they did. And I want to say, a word for one man who was started at centre-back and again attracted a lot of interest from people, and that's Yerson Mosquera. We believe, like you say, that he is going to be firmly part of Gary Neal's setup. He wants him here, he wants him at Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I tell you what, like you say, it's early days, but at the same time, you saw the pace, you saw the quality of Yerson Mosquera with the ball in possession, and goodness me, Wolves have got a player here, and I fully expect him, maybe not to be in the side straight away, but if not, very, very close. He's going to be pushing a lot of players, I think, this season.
And what he has that isn't necessarily different from all of Wolves' centre halves. I think Totti's similar in some instances, but what he does have is incredible athleticism. As I say, Totti is similar as well, but on that right hand side, he is quick, and you don't always want a defender to be recovering. But often, if a ball goes in behind, over the top, you're going to have to recover quickly. His recovery run and his recovery pace is brilliant. It really is. He's strong,
bringing the ball out as well.
Yeah, strong, aggressive. Carries the ball really nicely. There's definitely things to tidy up, of course.
Yeah,
there is. And he was raw when we saw him last in a Wolves shirt. But the difference between him then and now, albeit only briefly in a game here today, they look worlds apart. So I would like to see him now kick on in America for the rest of the pre-season, and then hopefully have a good start to the campaign.
Yeah. And 45 minutes, different team comes out and Wolves get the goal. Ryan Aït-Nouri, set piece, beautiful delivery.
Set piece straight away.
Set
there
piece,
you go, set piece coaches.
And look, Matt Doherty, I spoke to Matt Doherty after the game and he said, absolutely delighted. I wish I could get balls like that all the time. And it was 1-0 Matt Doherty header. I mean, it's probably, no one's really surprised, are they? But like you say, and I spoke to him about the set piece coach. He said that it's a massive part. It can be the difference between finishing in the European positions and towards relegation, both attacking and defensively. And that's very important going forward. That can only help Wolves, having a set piece coach.
I've spoken to Tim Jenkins and to Gary Neal this week, and they both said almost the same sentence, so it's clearly something on their mind, to say that if you stand still in modern football, you get left behind. It's these marginal gains, these small things that are going to hopefully accumulate.
The extra 1-2%.
Exactly. And with bringing a dedicated set piece coach in, first time Wolves have done that, just to have someone to solely work on offensively and defensively, a massive part of the English game, can only be a benefit. It can only be a benefit moving forward. Maybe it was a coincidence a few days in the first training game that they go and score from a set piece, but it's one hell of a...
It's a good start for him.
It's a good start for him, absolutely, and it's one hell of a cross, as you say, from Aït-Nouri. And Doc does brilliantly to score it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time it's on a plate for him. And as you say, though, from his interview, he must be delighted to have those kind of crosses coming in.
Yeah, look, we fly back tomorrow morning, but I think in terms of a 6 or 7 day initial training camp, this has been highly successful to get this team together. Like you say, it's a very strong team together now. There's not 4 or 5 senior players and a lot of kids. This was the majority of the squad were here. They've worked really hard, and I think that you've got to look at the plus points, because unfortunately this is what's going to be talked about, and that second half incident is going to be marred and spoil the camp slightly, but there's a lot of good work that's been done. They will go back now before they set off to Miami next week.
Yeah, all the attention should be brought to this incident because it was, as we say, ridiculous and outrageous, and we should be talking about it. At the same time, don't take away from what has been a really good week for Wolves.
And Gary O'Neill's first pre-season as well.
Exactly, as I say, he'll be learning plenty about himself as well as the players moving forward. It sets them up perfectly. They go back now, as you say, to the UK for a week, and then off for 12 days in the US. I'm sure it'll be very busy for them. Appearances and games and friendlies and all sorts of things. But on the training pitch, Gary and his team are detailed, they're focused, and they've got the players at the moment in a really good place. And if you can carry that through for what will be a tough start to the season with the fixtures Wolves have got coming up, it should put them in good stead.
And we shall be in Miami following Wolves every step of the way. It's finished at the Marbella Football Centre. Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Como 0. For all the post-match reaction, make sure you log on to expressandstar.com.